I'm drilling into rock here. It's something I've wanted to do all my life, and today's the big day. And I've got a secret weapon that I didn't even know about before this morning. You see, when you drill into rock, they tell you to use a masonry bit. A masonry bit looks like this. I can take these off. Okay, and they're big, giant, carbide-tipped bits. Well, not big, giant. This one is the big, giant. And they're great for drilling into cinder block and stuff, but they totally tank out when it comes to rock. I mean, I put this one in, and I stood here on another rock, but it took like 15 minutes, and it just had a little dimple in it. All right, so what the secret is, I discovered just this morning, is that if you use a glass and tile bit, they look like this, spade-shaped. See, there's different sizes. It goes like stink. It goes, look, did you see how fast that hole was going? Okay, and why am I even bothering to do all this, you ask? Because I want to feel calm today. I have a slightly high-strung nature. It's a windy day. That always just gets me edgy. So I'm making a serenity lantern that's going to go really tall. It's going to have this beautiful grounding granite base, or it's not granite really, I think it's sandstone. It's a bit softer than granite, which is probably why these things are working. See, over here is one of my prototypes. This is sticks, apple twigs actually, is what makes the frame. The base is just a piece of pine that I had hanging around the workshop. And this is natural fiber paper that's wrapped around in strips. And it's so full of starch that it ends up drying tight as a drum, so it gives the lamp a lot of oomph. This is an earlier one that the paper wasn't wetted down, and it doesn't quite have that organic shape that I wanted. So also there's a glass chimney protecting the candle inside it. If you're worried about fire, you can get flame retardant from a theatrical supply place and just soak your paper in that. But I just put a chimney in. I think it'll do the job just fine. Oops, and this is curly willow, which is a lovely kind of twig that you can get at a florist. Okay, see, look how pretty that is. And this is the dry form, but you can also get it green, which is kind of fun because then you can bend it around. Like, for example, you could make, you know how you lie in bed looking at that ceiling fixture when you're feeling agitated and it's just butt ugly? So that you could make one of these things with green curly willow and bend it into the form and put rice paper over that. I got so many ideas, and most of them are a bit odd, but that doesn't stop me, and I think that shows the strength of character. Yeah. Okay, so back to the drilling thing. It helps, the bit gets quite hot, so it helps to actually dip it in water every so often. And you know, the guys that cut tile and marble and stuff, they have to use constantly water flooding over their bit because it just gets really hot. And then we're going to be epoxying these in here, so you just need enough to get a bit of purchase on the bottom of each twig. So maybe 1/2 inch deep. See, it's windy. Yeah, it's a good day to be building a serenity lamp, I'll tell you. And just one more tip about drilling. If you can possibly get yourself a drill that has a hammer drill setting on it, you can actually buy a hammer drill or rent one or borrow one. And they have a vibration as well as just spinning. If you're just spinning the drill bit, it will take a while. You need that throbbing motion to make it a satisfying drilling event. One thing I'll probably never understand is why no one's come up with a seminar called Serenity Through Power Tools. Because after using a hammer drill, your hands are totally numb. And I'm guessing that's as close to serenity as some of us ever get. Okay, I got a few too many holes, all right? And I don't say that lightly. I got carried away, and I'll explain that in a second. But first, some fascinating drill technology information. Look, See how pretty and silver this little drill bit is? Look at this one. This one has been burnt. I forgot to dip it, and so I burnt it out. So the metal loses its temper when you overheat it, and then it won't cut anymore. So this is the size I had in before, and I was drilling and drilling and drilling on my 4th or 5th hole, and it just wasn't going in there. And I thought, well, geez, maybe I'll hit a patch of granite there, or some kind of strata there, geological formation. But in fact, I just had burnt out the bit. I always use that kind of rock hound voice when I'm trying to act authoritative about rock. Don't worry, I'm okay. Anyway, so this is what they should look like. If they start to go dark on you, that just means you haven't been cooling it enough, or you've been leaning a little too hard on the bit. So you've burnt it out, and it will not cut, so you got to switch bits. But look, did you see how fast that was going? It just goes, boom, it just plows right in there when it's a good bit that's not burnt. So I got too many holes because I had this big theory that I would make this crescent-shaped sort of serenity shape, kind of a moon shape kind of thing, but I put some sticks in it, just look butt ugly, so I'm going with a more simplified version. Also, the little holes, they look like little rabbit warrens. They pile up a whole bunch of kind of gopher dirt all around the outside of them. So if you go to a camera shop, or if you have some of this hanging around from maybe cleaning your computer, you know, all the little crumbs that fall down in the keys, come on, admit it. You eat when you use your computer. I know I do. So this stuff, I have to use this pretty much every hour. All right, look. Oh, is that cool? Isn't it just worth living in this century because you got these little cans of compressed air? Oh, yeah. Okay, so anyway, part of the reason you're doing that is because there's so much dust in the little holes that the glue doesn't want to stick. This is like the dentist uses this stuff too. Even though it says right on the can, do not use in mouth. Isn't it good they wrote that? Because you'd be so tempted. All right, so I think I've got enough holes now. So I'm going to start putting the sticks in. The other thing is that because the profile of the bit is shaped like an arrowhead or something, you kind of have to do the same thing with the bottom of the stick so that it'll fit in the little hole and as much surface area as possible will meet. All right, so this is epoxy. It's 5-minute epoxy. It sets up in 5 minutes, so you have to work fairly quickly. And I really like this dispensing unit instead of the tubes, because it tells you that you're giving exactly the same amounts of the resin and the other bit. I forget the name of the other stuff, the hardener, I guess. Suck it back though, because otherwise you'll set this down. If you don't pull the plunger back, it'll just ooze and ooze and ooze, and your whole place will smell like epoxy. So I'll just mix this up. Okay, and then you're gonna need like a nail or something little to drop I'll just use this burnt out drill bit, just to drop epoxy into the actual hole, like this. And then plunge the stick in. Lovely. Okay, now there's a little over secretion there, so you can clean that up with a Q-tip and a little acetone, which is the same thing as nail polish remover. Now the only drawback, okay, that can just sit there for a second. I've got 5 minutes to work with this epoxy till things start to harden up on me, so I'm going to work really quickly. But I don't want the little sticks to fall open that much, and they will harden in that position with the epoxy. So I'm going to tie them together with a bit of copper wire, and that way they won't flop all over. I'm starting to get a little bit panicky. I'm losing my serenity because I know that I've only got 5 minutes. It's the deadlines that just get me worked up. I use a little too much epoxy, as is always the case. So I'm just taking a little of the powder that is left over from drilling, and I'm shaking it around where the little shiny bits of epoxy went everywhere. Everywhere. It just went everywhere. And then I'll, and it's all over the brush. Fine gluing technique is really one of the hardest skills to acquire. All right, so that just tidies it up a little so it doesn't look all shiny around the base. So now the trees just look like they grew right out of the rock. All right, so there's still a bit of wire on here because it takes a lot to get this stuff to stay on its own. But once, yeah, it seems to be staying. Once the epoxy hardens up, see, this one's not quite hard yet. I'll just leave that one for a moment. Okay, so the next trick is to get the paper selected and wet it. All right, now this is a little dark, as I was saying before, but it's really interesting. It's got giant hunks of bark in it and stuff. I'm going to try this stuff. All you do is plunge it into a vat of water and wring it out. Now, if you use newspaper or something, it would just turn to pulp, so you have to really find the right paper. I'm hoping this is the right kind, because if it's not, I'm in serious trouble. Let's see if it holds itself together. Yeah, it's pretty good. Oops, it ripped. And it ripped again. So perhaps I was a little excessive in the way I just drenched that, but it'll still work, because the whole point of this is to rip it into strips. So, and I'm going to rip it the long way or the short way. I was hoping to rip it the length of it, because I have a lot of, you know, circumference to go around. But it only really wants to rip the short way, as I'm finding, so I'll just go with that. Okay, so I used yellow glue, the carpenter's glue stuff, on the other one, my prototype, and it left it looking a little bit like dried mucus, so I'm going with white glue this time. And the glue tends to skin over as it sits in the vat, so it's a good idea to hit it once in a while with a little bit of water so it doesn't get all dried up on you. So this is going to just wrap around there like that. Oh yeah, that's working really well. Okay, I'll just have another go. And see, this is, you know, what's the point of making a serenity lamp if you're so tense by the end of it that you'll never recover? This is my question to myself right now. Okay, now, there. See, that's going to be good. Now, I have to leave a little space somewhere at the bottom. Okay, this piece is a bit long. So look, I'm going to glue again around the edge of the paper and also on the actual branch, the twiggy thing. And then it's all gooey, and then rip off the excess and go for another strip, and or little tiny chunk, as it were. Boy, you know, this actual sheet, it doesn't have a lot of body, so it might have been smarter for me to test this first. Don't worry, it'll be fine. All right, so I'll just rip this in half. Okay, so there's a good size strip. So the nice thing, as I said earlier, is that when it's really wet like this, is the whole advantage of working with it wet, is that it tends to mold around the curvy bits. Like here, there's a nice challenge coming up here. It's all kind of curvy. Oops. So, so I'll start here. Then I'll have to fill that other spot some other time. Okay, now I gotta get the wire off. Could use a meditation exercise right now. Oh, see, this one's falling over. It's gonna have to be re-cemented with epoxy because it just clearly is not cooperative. So I'll come back to that. Yeah, sure, go ahead, lie down, be your own man. I'm fine. I'm perfectly calm. It's gonna be fine. Okay. All right. All right. Here I'm going again with the glue. Okay, so the glue's on. I'm not having any kind of moment here. It's just part of the process. Oh, come on. Just stay there.
There's something about candlelight that always makes me feel calm. And once I'm calm, I like to ponder the words of the masters, like Yogi Berra, who said some pretty mind-bending stuff, like, you can observe a lot just by watching, and we have deep depth.
Okay, I'm up to my elbows in glue, but this is coming along, and this is my Serenity lantern, and I'm having a little bit of a pause in my motion right now because I want to see how these seams are kind of floppy? So I want to press those together. So I just take a little bit of glue and slide it under that little thing there and press it together. And just, it's really neat with this natural fiber paper because the little fibers just blend into the rest of it as though they're not even there. There's another spot there. So I'm just also having to put together little patches. So you just take a little bit of the wet stuff like this in your hand and do the whole outside edge of it, and that way you can press it on anywhere there might happen to be a little hole. Like right, I just saw one. Where'd it go? Well, just for fun, I'll put it there. And it varies the intensity of the light that comes through. Oops. Okay, you know what? This has gotten a little bit too dry. Okay, so I just need to go like that. And then it just floats on there. There we go. There. Oh, listen, the rain has started. Okay, the wind has given way to rain. This is good. On the roof, I can hear it. All right, so if you don't want to do a rock base, because you just think, you know, it's just too much, I don't have a rock kind of a style, then you can go with wood. And this is just a chunk that I had lying around of poplar, and I've cut a hole for it just using a hole saw and then chiseling out the inside of it. And that holds a chimney really well so that if the thing gets bumped, it doesn't go flying, right? It just stabilizes the chimney. And then you can also put little, if you wanted to, you could put little feet on the bottom. These are just drawer knobs, but look how cute that would look. You're going for more of a cute style. Okay, so either way, it's going to look extremely serene, and I think that's the goal here. The other thing is, sometimes if you've got a really large lamp, like I'm kind of worried about this one, because one little candle flame isn't really going to show. So in that case, you can add these things, which are, they're available from specialty woodwork supply places and probably craft stores. But you just drill a hole with a paddle bit that looks like this, because it makes a nice big hole. And then you sink these babies in here and drop a tea light in them. So that would work too, because it's just maybe not going to be bright enough. So I'm just going to finish putting on more strips and get this thing up to the point that I want it to be at. And then, oh baby, the calmness is going to be just unbelievable. Are you ready to be serene? Okay, look, I got a special treat. Look how pretty. Look, look, a baby. It's having a little baby. Isn't that great? Look, it's just, you could do a whole chandelier with those things and twigs. It would be really cool. So this is looking very organic and almost like it's ready to hatch, really. But it's pretty. And look, if you have, if it's not quite dark enough yet, but you still want to turn on your lamp, especially if it's a wuthering winter evening and it's kind of spooky, you turn it on with the power option. Okay, that's cheerful right there. All right, so you got options here with this baby. No matter what, it'll turn out different from anybody else's in the world, and you got to be proud of that. Now, this is the work of Kathleen Doody, who is an artist in Toronto, and she has made a wall sconce from dogwood and natural papers, just like I was using. And she has an amazing way with this stuff. She's lashed, see the tiny waxed thread she uses to lash all the individual pieces together? And she actually went to Japan and studied how they make lanterns there, which is where she got the inspiration for this next one, which is really neatly constructed. The dogwood is drilled and then sewn together with little pieces of copper wire. She also hammered the roof herself. She uses a wok to bang the copper on top of to get that beautiful shape. And this is mesh, and she makes paper. She takes paper, recycled computer paper mostly, and turns it into pulp and pours it through this mesh. And so that it's weather resistant. This is an outdoor lantern. All right, and then this one finally is one of my favorites. It's called the tree house. See, it's all leggy and pretty. And she's really great. It's so neat what you can come up with if you just think about what you would do if you were doing a lantern. So I hope you've become very serene after this little experiment.
If your serenity lamp turns out resembling one of those evil pods from the movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers, don't worry, because when you light it, you remember that you're better off than those people who got podded and turned into zombies. Okay, that thought may not give you total serenity, but the main thing is, you know how to drill into rock now. And doesn't that just give you a nice mellow buzz?